Thank you for tuning in and welcome back to the Sandwich of Coherency. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this. This will be our pre-weekend episode. So recently, as we've gone over the Senate hearings, the Judiciary Committee meetings, we've pointed out and listened time and time again that the head of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkis, is always MIA, always refusing to appear. And that's because the White House has kind of hinted for him not to. So he has avoided showing up. Now, but he did this time. And, well, it got heated. It got fiery. There were a whole lot of angry senators. And it all really, from the Republican side, came down to one thing, and is that he should resign. And when you think about the policies that have been put in place and the way he has done his job and the way the situation at the border has gone on, rightly so, one would think that this man should resign. And you would be absolutely correct. Ding, 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 you win. The problem is that you have the Democrats on the other side that think, well, he's doing an amazing job. The crises that have been happening are not crises at all. And to the point here, which is that it's always so hard to get these Biden officials to show up for questions, that when they do, there really doesn't get to be much time for questions. Because what ends up happening is that, well, since they never show up, these senators have to go through a whole list of things to make sure the public knows what's going on and put the face to it so that people have a better understanding of who the person is, so they know who to be upset at. But it's also to point out to America that these people refuse to do their jobs. But this is what you want your congressmen and your senators to do, is their jobs, and to bring these people in, to question them, to ask them, why are things not working? Now, the Department of Homeland Security wants more money. They want more money. And Chip Roy gets a little bit into that. We're going to listen to Chip Roy from Texas. But he goes off. I mean, it is really just an absolute spanking. I mean, there's really not much time to let Mayorkis have a word in, because let's be honest with ourselves. We've listened to these enough times to know that they are going to either lie or not respond or say some nonsense. Well, I'll have to give you an answer later when my office can write it up. And it's like, how can you not answer these questions now? How are you this unprepared when you knew that you were going to be here? It's not like we just sprung it up on you. We told you this 1, 2, 3 months in advance. You had plenty of time to prepare yourself. So yes, I would be angry, like most of them, most of the time, if that was the situation that you had to deal with. But let's go ahead and jump right into this and give this little shakedown a shake.
Lady yields back, Mr. Roy.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, there have been over 1 million plus individuals put into proceedings or released into the United States on your watch. I've asked multiple Border Patrol personnel, not the union, mind you, if we double, triple, quadruple the CBP budget, would that 1 million release go down? And they categorically said no, it would go up. Do you agree, yes or no?
I'm not sure I understand your question, Congressman. With the addition...
With the number of people being released in the United States under current law, would it go down no matter how much you increased your budget? And it would not, as they said. Do you agree, yes or no?
Congressman, if I understand your question correctly, when individuals are in the United States and they make a claim for asylum,
so the number would not go down is the answer, right? Yes or no? That's what they said, and I think you just answered it. It would not go down. The only plan that you offer, the plan you just offered, is to process aliens faster and encourage more to come. We know that to be true. I know it's true. You know it's true. Cartels know it's true, and people around the world know it's true, and that's why people are coming.
That is false.
It's not false.
Yes, it is.
The entirety of your plan says that. The Secure Fence Act of 2006 says what? That the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take all actions the Secretary determines necessary to achieve and maintain operational control over the entire international land and maritime borders. Will you testify under oath right now? Do we have operational control, yes or no?
Yes, we do. And
we have operational control of the borders.
Yes, we do.
I'm going to pause it right there because, you know, Mayorkis mentioned asylum. They've released 836,000 quote unquote asylum seekers into the U.S. 836,000. I mean, when you have people flooding from countries like that, I mean, typically it's like war torn. Something's going on. The U.S. usually runs in there, guns a-blazing. We got to save them. I mean, look at what's happening with Ukraine right now. Biden is trying to get approval for another $33 billion to send to Ukraine. Another 33 billion. Man. And I'll talk about this a little bit later, but just remember, wasn't it the UN that said that you only need about $6 billion to fight world hunger? How many trillions has the US printed? Just remember that since 2019, the Democrats have spent from 2019 to 2021, it was actually, they spent $9 trillion. So understand that. On one hand, they say $6 billion is what the UN says you need to fight world hunger. Okay. Biden wants $33 billion to send to Ukraine. Okay. And everybody's flipping arms about Elon Musk spending his $44 billion to buy Twitter, by them all saying that you could have helped humanity and you could save the world with that money. You didn't have to buy Twitter. You could have stopped world hunger. Okay. Democrats from 2019 to 2021. $9 trillion. You have a nation that's over $30 trillion in debt. You've got a president with the budget bill that's about to spend $5.8 trillion. I don't think it's going to solve world hunger. I don't think $6 billion is going to be enough. But let's continue, because we'll save that for another time.
Congressman, we are working to...
Listen what operational control defined. In this section, the term operational control means the prevention of all unlawful entries into the United States, including entries by terrorists, other unlawful aliens, instruments of terrorism, narcotics, and other contraband. Do you stand by your testimony that we have operational control in light of this definition?
I do, and Congressman, I think the Secretary of Homeland Security would have said the same thing in 2020 and in 2019.
No, the Secretary would have at least had a basis for saying that we have some sort of control of the border. But the fact is, we currently have people flowing across the border, including dangerous narcotics and dangerous members of terrorists, which your own agency sent a letter to my office after 8 months. We sent a letter saying there are 42 people on the terrorist watch list that are in the United States. But you just said to Mr. Jordan, you don't even know where the hell they are. That's what you're saying is operational control?
I'm going to pause it right there again. Yeah, Jim Jordan reamed him on that. But here's the thing. It ended up being at the end of his question time. And as important as that answer might be, they did not let him answer. They did not want to let him answer. They did not want that answer. Oh, gosh. God forbid the American people find out how many terrorists that the United States has let into the country. Now, these are people that are on the terrorist watch list and on the no-fly list. So they came in through the southern border. Now, is it likely possible, based on Mayorkis' answer, that some of them are in detention still? Yes, that is more than likely so. But at the same time, not all of them. And that is the problem, because if you don't know, if you can't say that they were deported and you don't know where they are, that is a big issue, because you have people that are on the no-fly list and on the terrorist watch list that have entered into the United States. So you have people who want death to Americans being led into the United States by the White House administration. This is a problem. And this is something that is worth being angry and upset about. This should be at the forefront of what everybody's talking about. Who gives two flips about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard? Yes, it is a messed up situation, and I am sorry for what that man went through. But right now, there are more important things to be worried about. Much more important things, like this. But let's continue, and I will try not to interrupt.
Said to Mr. Jordan, you don't even know where the hell they are. And that's what you're saying is operational control, including entries by terrorists and unlawful aliens? It's not. It's not operational control. Mr. Secretary, let me ask you a question. When we're looking ahead and we're talking about asylum, okay? Here, if the officer determines at the time of the interview that an alien has a credible fear of persecution, the alien shall be detained for further consideration. Mandatory detention. Any alien subject to the procedures under this clause shall be detained, pending a final determination of credible fear of persecution. Is everyone being detained? Yes or no?
No, and as a matter of fact, Congressman, that is an issue that is before the United States Supreme Court. And
the fact of the matter is our law says they should be detained, and your agency is releasing people on purpose in order to flood the zone and make sure that more people can come to the United States. And you use parole to do it. Parole of aliens within the following groups have been detained. Come down here on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit. Yet your office is using parole. But when you use parole, the fact is they're not showing back up to ICE. Your own letter to Senator Johnson, to this committee, have acknowledged they're not showing back up to ICE. How can you be saying that you have operational control or that we're securing the United States when they're not showing back up?
Congressman, are you actually interested in the facts and the law?
Yeah, I'm reading you the law, and I'm actually talking to you about the facts about who's into this country.
Actually, you're
now let's actually go to something that's
Chairman, can the witness be allowed to answer the question?
Well, there wasn't a question there to be answered.
Gentleman's time.
Point. Now let's talk about the damage being done to the United States of America. Mr. Secretary, do you know what this is? This is a mobile morgue, a body trailer, needed by counties in South Texas overwhelmed by dead migrants. That particular trailer is filled with these bodies, 27 bodies that were stored in this mobile morgue in South Texas with dead bodies of migrants. Dead bodies like this one found on a ranch just 3 weeks ago in South Texas. A dead migrant. Somehow that's compassion. How about the dead bodies found by migrants? Compassion. How about the ranchers who had to walk out of their door, and this is what they faced. Gentlemen with rocks threatening a rancher in South Texas, only able to be saved when they were able to bring their dogs out to scare the people away in order to save themselves. Or the fact that you've got houses being attacked, you've got livestock dead on the side because we've got ranches wide open. How about the little girl here with a brand on her arm? A little girl with a brand on her arm because of your policies. A little girl here in the desert found by ranchers trying to save their life. And how about the lost voices for people dying from fentanyl? The tens of thousands of Americans dying from fentanyl. Faces of Americans across this country dying because of fentanyl pouring into our country.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
You know full well.
Time of the...
Yeah, Nadler. Ooh. Yeah, he ended that very quickly. And he went on to accuse Chip Roy of slandering him. I didn't think he slandered him. I think he was just pointing out the facts. And I mean, dude, he basically just threw the pictures of the people at him because I don't think he's seen them. You know, and a child that's being branded. Holy crap. That child belongs to the cartels. That child will be here in the United States, and yeah, that is property of them. This is wild. These are things that the American people should be aware of. Oh wow. Elon Musk spent his money and bought Twitter. Whoop-de-doo. There are children being branded by cartels and sent to the United States. The United States can't account for all the terrorists that they've detained at the border. The United States can't account for 25% of all the children that they brought into the United States from the border. The United States, the White House administration, built housing for illegal immigrants on U.S. military bases. You have homeless veterans in the street. There are more important things to worry about than what Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos does with their money. You got teachers teaching things that they should not be talking to children about. Asking and telling children not to tell their parents. Lying to parents about what they are doing and saying to these children. There are bigger things to be worried about in the United States right now. Which brings me to the next point of what's been happening with food in the United States. Oh my gosh. There's shortages all over the place and people seem shocked by this still. I don't know. I've been telling people this for a long, long time now that, you know, this is, in some ways, no matter how you look at it, you can believe what you want, but if somebody said that this was completely contrived, this was planned out, I couldn't fault you for believing it. Hear me out here. You've heard, if you listen to the other episodes, we laid out what happened. The United States, culled, if you want to call it, killed millions upon millions, tens of millions of animals in the United States. Birds, or chickens, rather. Cows, pigs, all kinds of livestock. And see, these situations just kind of slid under the radar. They got only a couple minutes in the media, but let's be honest. Let's look at what's happening. The U.S. has lower farmland being utilized. You've got farmers being paid much more, way more, to not grow crops than to actually grow them. So they're not growing them. You know, they're paying them so much more than they would make to grow the crops that the farmers are just like, yeah, we're cool. We won't grow any. The United States, USDA, is paying farmers to destroy crops. Think about the millions of gallons of milk that they paid farmers to destroy. Don't forget, that the White House had, I think they were working for the USDA as well, sent people to cattle ranches throughout the United States and killed the cattle. They told the farmers they had to kill the cattle, and if they didn't, they would do it for them. So they did, and they killed millions of cows. You're not having food shortages. I mean, think about it. They're talking about there's food shortages. You got to ask yourself, why would there be food shortages? How do you have food shortages when you have major farms? Are they not producing? You know, these are the things I guess because most people don't really understand how the farming works or exactly where all the food comes from. But not so much of your food is really imported as you would think. A whole lot of it is actually grown right here in the United States. We do import a lot, but the United States produces a lot. But we're not now. We're producing less and less. There was that derecho that hit a couple of years ago, like last year, I think it was. I want to say it was last year. Possibly 2020. It was 2020 or 2021 that destroyed a huge majority of American crops. In vital crops. And that was a natural thing. But now you have across the nation food factories and warehouses and plants just happen to be blowing up and catching fire. You have fertilizer plants just blowing up and catching fire. We are having a shortage of fertilizer. A lot of people don't actually know this, but there's actually a shortage of fertilizer. No fertilizer, no produce. No crops, no food. People go hungry. Now, will we run out? No, but will you be forced to tighten the belt? I mean, it just seems like there's this huge push to destroy all the reserves that the United States has of things. This is not just something, I don't know, it's just too clean to be unassisted. I mean, we've had over 13, 14 food processing plants, factories and warehouses have already blown up. Recently, we've got the fertilizer plants blowing up. You know, I mean, now you have the FBI. Yes, you have the FBI coming out and saying, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, in this article I'm reading from the American Military News, the FBI's Cyber Division issued a statement last week warning of potential ransomware attacks against the agricultural industry as more than a dozen food processing plants across the United States have suffered damage from mysterious fires. Cyber actors may perceive agricultural cooperatives as lucrative targets with a willingness to pay due to the time-sensitive role they play in agricultural production, which is what the FBI warned. So, I've noticed every time there seems to be aware of this attack might happen, you know, it seems to happen. So, I guess you could be looking for, some kind of cyber attack to happen on the food industry. And of course, you know, they're going to say Russia, 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 even though it could be stamped with all the Chinese lettering and writing and a big picture of a whole Chinese group of hackers or any group of hackers from around the world with a picture of themselves saying they did it, and they will still turn on you and look and say, well, it was the Russians. If those people did it, the Russians made them do it. It's kind of like recently there were some kind of fact checkers talking about saying that the video that you saw of Biden when he gave that speech at North Carolina A&T and he turned to shake hands with nobody that was there, according to fact checkers and a lot of people on the left now, that's not what you saw. You didn't actually see that. That video was edited. But see, we watched it live. And guess what? He did that. He attempted to shake hands with somebody that wasn't there. But that's just getting off base. let's get to the point. Recently reported in The Guardian, a U.S. egg factory just roasted alive 5.3 million chickens. Oh yeah, we have a new avian flu. And then they fired almost every worker. Understand, 5.3 million chickens. That's a lot of fowl. It's very foul. You know, apparently laborers worked for a month disposing of birds killed in a gruesomely inhumane manner. Then they found they too were disposable. So laborers at one of the world's largest egg factories arrived at the plant in Rembrandt, Iowa, early one morning in March to discover they were about to work themselves out of a job. So apparently, let's break it down. Goes further on to say that the culling has been repeated at chicken and turkey farms across Iowa and 28 other states from Maine to Utah. More than 22 million birds have been killed in an attempt to contain the outbreak. Look, it's going to happen. This is going to be a food shortage that's going to happen. They're going to use that, and that's what they're going to say. I mean, look, there's no way to know for sure. But you have to hope that they're telling the truth. Long story short, you can look at the price of your chicken going through the roof. The same thing is going to happen, or maybe they'll say that we can import chicken from China. I mean, wasn't Obama that passed that bill that said that the U.S. could import chickens from China? Or rather, they could be processed in China and sent back to the United States. So I guess we'll see if that happens. We'll see what happens. But just understand, if they start telling you that we'll be able to fill the gap with chickens imported from China, you should probably just stay away from the chickens. But again, we're just going to see how this plays out, because this is just getting absolutely wild. But if you don't know how to grow food, I highly recommend you learn. Hop on YouTube, learn how to grow, learn how to can. Look, here's the honest thing. People can talk all the stuff they want about people that live in the South and da-da-da-da-da. But when it comes down to it, those are the people you're looking at to see if they have any extra food in their pantry. Why? Because they grew it all. Why? Because they knew how to jar and store it all. You're having food shortages. They have cupboards full of food. That's how it works. I mean, it's not to be mean, but, and look, not everybody that even lives in the South or whatnot, knows how to do that. But I highly, highly recommend that if you don't know how to grow food, learn how to grow food. And if you don't know how to store it properly, learn how to store it properly. Look, we hope the grid doesn't go out, but you do that and you get yourself a deep freezer and you store it, and it'll be safe for years to come. But that's my little bit of sandwich advice for the night. I thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.